Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Andrew Huberman, and I want you to enjoy your life and become who God created you to be. If you truly want a positive change in your life, don't just listen, take action, like share and subscribe to the channel so you can receive more inspiring messages. Today, I want to address something that every one of us struggles with: our weak sides. We all have them, those parts of ourselves that we avoid, that we wish were stronger, that we feel limit us. But what if I told you that the key to personal growth isn't in hiding or ignoring these weaknesses, but in dominating them? Today, let's talk about how we can conquer our weak sides and become the best versions of ourselves. The first crucial step to dominating your weak side is the ability to recognize and acknowledge your weaknesses. It might seem like an obvious point, but it's one that many of us overlook or avoid. Why? Because it's uncomfortable. Admitting our weaknesses can feel like we're accepting defeat, or worse, acknowledging that we are not as strong, capable, or perfect as we would like to believe. But here's the truth: recognition is not about defeat. It's about honesty and self-awareness. Before you can improve or change, you need to understand where you stand. And understanding where you stand starts with recognizing where you're not as strong. The power of self-awareness lies in the clarity it provides. Only when we are aware of our weaknesses can we begin to tackle them head on. Many people spend their lives avoiding or denying their flaws, whether they're physical, emotional, mental, or even social. We cover them up with distractions, overcompensate with our strengths, or pretend that everything is fine when we know deep down it's not. But this approach doesn't help us grow. It only prolongs the inevitable. The moment we begin to acknowledge our weaknesses, we unlock the potential for real growth. It's an essential part of self-improvement because we cannot improve what we're unwilling to face. Recognizing your weaknesses means being willing to be vulnerable. It means admitting to yourself that there are areas where you fall short, whether it's a lack of confidence, struggles with discipline, a tendency to procrastinate, or difficulty with managing emotions. The act of recognizing these weaknesses is not a sign of weakness itself, but a demonstration of strength. It takes courage to look at yourself honestly and say, I need to work on this. Think about how much easier it is to change something when you know exactly what it is you're trying to change. For instance, if you're trying to lose weight but don't acknowledge that you have a tendency to overeat or lack consistency in exercising, how can you expect to make lasting progress? Without identifying the specific weakness in your habits or mindset, your efforts will be scattered and ineffective. However, if you recognize that overeating is a weakness, you can focus on that problem directly by changing your eating habits, tracking your meals, or seeking support to break free from this pattern. Similarly, recognizing your emotional weaknesses, equally important. Are you quick to anger? Do you struggle with forgiving others? Do you have trouble trusting people or being vulnerable in relationships? These emotional weaknesses, if left unaddressed, can deeply affect your personal and professional life. By acknowledging them, you open the door to learning new coping strategies, practicing self-regulation, and developing healthier relationships. It's also important to recognize that weaknesses are not permanent. Often, people fail to see that a weakness is simply an area in need of growth and development. It doesn't define you forever. It's not a character flaw. It's just a place where you need more attention, care, and effort. Strength is developed through consistent effort and conscious decision-making. And as you continue to face your weaknesses head on, you'll realize that over time, they no longer hold the same power over you. You'll learn how to manage them, control them, and transform them into something that contributes to your growth. In recognizing your weaknesses, it's also helpful to approach the process with compassion and patience. It's easy to be critical of ourselves, to get frustrated or discouraged when we see how far we have to go. But recognize that weakness is not something to be ashamed of. It's simply an opportunity for improvement. If you allow yourself to feel the discomfort of vulnerability and self-awareness, you'll gain the clarity and focus needed to take meaningful action toward improvement. Through recognition comes understanding, and through understanding comes change. Once you see your weaknesses clearly, you can begin the work of overcoming them step by step. It's the first and most important step on the journey toward dominating your weak side and turning those weaknesses into your greatest strengths. After recognizing your weaknesses, the next vital step in dominating them is to shift your mindset. Mindset shapes how we see the world and, more importantly, how we see ourselves. Our mindset determines whether we perceive our weaknesses as insurmountable obstacles or as opportunities for growth. The power of mindset lies in its ability to influence our thoughts, actions, and ultimately our results. If we don't actively work to change our mindset, we can easily fall into the trap of believing that we are defined by our weaknesses. A fixed mindset, the belief that our abilities and qualities are static and unchangeable, can be detrimental when it comes to personal growth. If you hold a fixed mindset, you may view your weaknesses as permanent flaws, something you were simply born with and can never change. This belief can leave you feeling hopeless, trapped, and unwilling to put in the effort required to improve. You may avoid facing your weaknesses altogether, or worse, convince yourself that they're insurmountable, thereby giving up before you even begin. In contrast, a growth mindset encourages you to view weaknesses as challenges that you can overcome with time, effort, and dedication. A growth mindset is rooted in the belief that your abilities and characteristics can be developed and improved over time. When you shift to a growth mindset, you embrace the idea that weaknesses are not signs of failure, but opportunities to learn and grow. Every weakness is simply a starting point for improvement, a chance to become stronger, smarter, more resilient. Shifting your mindset requires a conscious effort to change the way you think about yourself and your abilities. It starts with reframing the way you view challenges. Instead of thinking, I'll never be good at this, try thinking, I may not be good at this yet, but with effort, I can improve. This small shift in perspective opens the door to new possibilities and allows you to approach your weaknesses with a sense of curiosity and determination rather than fear and avoidance. A key part of shifting your mindset is embracing failure as a part of the process. Many people view failure as something to be avoided at all costs, but in reality, failure is one of the greatest teachers we have. Each time we fail, we gain valuable insights into what doesn't work and how we can do better next time. Failure is not a reflection of our worth or ability, it's simply feedback. When we reframe failure in this way, we can approach our weaknesses with more confidence, knowing that each setback is a stepping stone toward mastery. Another important aspect of shifting your mindset is replacing negative self-talk with empowering affirmations. It's easy to fall into a cycle of self-criticism when you're faced with your weaknesses. You might tell yourself, I'll never get better at this, or I'm just not good enough. These thoughts can be paralyzing and self-sabotaging. However, by replacing those negative thoughts with positive affirmations such as, I am capable of improvement, or I am strong enough to overcome this, you begin to rewire your brain to focus on solutions rather than problems. This shift in mindset also involves being kinder to yourself. Too often, we are our own harshest critics. We beat ourselves up over every mistake, every shortcoming. But treating yourself with compassion is essential. A compassionate mindset allows you to be patient with yourself, forgiving of your imperfections, and motivated to continue working on your weaknesses. Moreover, a growth mindset encourages you to seek out challenges and embrace discomfort. Many people avoid situations that highlight their weaknesses because they don't want to feel inadequate or vulnerable. However, when you adopt a growth mindset, you begin to view challenges as opportunities for growth, not threats to your self-esteem. The more you put yourself in situations where you have to face your weaknesses, the more resilient and capable you become. By shifting your mindset in this way, you change the narrative you tell yourself. Instead of defining yourself by what you're bad at, you start to see weaknesses as temporary, fixable, and essential to your growth. This new perspective frees you from the limitations of a fixed mindset and opens up a world of possibilities. You begin to see that your weaknesses don't define you. They are simply areas where you have room to grow. And with the right mindset, you can turn them into strengths. Once you've recognized your weaknesses and shifted your mindset, the next crucial step is to take action. This may sound straightforward, but often the hardest part is actually doing something about it. It's easy to get caught up in the planning, thinking, and overanalyzing, but nothing changes until you take that first step. The key here is to take action, no matter how small. The smallest action can lead to significant progress. And over time, these small steps will add up to create meaningful transformation. The idea that we need to make giant leaps in order to succeed is a misconception. We often get overwhelmed by the scale of the task ahead of us, thinking that unless we make drastic changes, nothing will work. This mindset can paralyze us into inaction. But the truth is, action, no matter how small, is the foundation of growth. Every little step you take toward overcoming your weaknesses counts. It's about making consistent progress, even if it's in tiny increments. When you take action, you're not just moving forward, you're also building momentum. Think about pushing a heavy boulder up a hill. At first, it feels incredibly difficult, but with each push, the boulder gains some movement. The same goes for overcoming weaknesses. The first action may feel like a struggle, but once you start, you begin to build momentum. The more you take action, the easier it becomes to continue. Each small effort you put forth helps to break down the mental barriers that have been holding you back. Taking action also has a psychological benefit. It combats the negative thoughts and fears that arise when we think about our weaknesses. The fear of failure, the fear of not being good enough, and the fear of judgment can be paralyzing. But once you take that first step, you prove to yourself that you are capable. Each small action reinforces the belief that you have control over your life and your weaknesses. This builds your confidence, making it easier to take the next step and the next, and so on. One of the most powerful things about taking action is that it provides immediate feedback. When you try something, whether it succeeds or fails, you gain valuable insights. You learn what works, what doesn't, and what needs to change. This feedback loop helps you refine your approach and adjust your strategies. The more you act, the more you act. The more you learn and the more you can improve. Even a failure isn't a setback. It's simply a lesson on what you need to do differently. Taking action also encourages accountability. When you take steps toward overcoming your weaknesses, you are making a commitment to yourself. Every small action you take holds you accountable to your goals and intentions. The more you commit to taking consistent action, the more you strengthen your resolve. This accountability helps keep you on track, even when things get tough. And when you start to see the results of your efforts, no matter how small, it serves as motivation to keep going. Another key element of taking action is that it makes your weaknesses tangible. We often avoid facing our weaknesses because they feel abstract and overwhelming. But when you take action, you give yourself a clear, actionable way to address them. For example, if your weakness is time management, simply setting a timer to work for 25 minutes without distraction is a small action that immediately tackles that weakness. Each time you do this, you make progress. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by the idea of getting better at time management, you focus on a small, actionable step that brings you closer to your goal. Moreover, taking action, no matter how small, helps you overcome procrastination. And procrastination is often fueled by fear, doubt, or a feeling of being overwhelmed. We delay taking action because we convince ourselves that we need more time, more knowledge, or a perfect strategy. But waiting for the perfect moment or ideal conditions can lead to inaction. The key is to start, even if you don't have the whole plan figured out. Taking that first small action pushes you past the point of hesitation. Once you begin, the process itself becomes less intimidating. Remember that no action is too small. Every effort, no matter how insignificant it seems in the moment, contributes to your long-term success. If your weakness is fitness, taking a 5-minute walk every day is a small action that builds into a healthier life. If your weakness is self-doubt, speaking one positive affirmation to yourself every morning is a small action that starts to reshape your mindset. These actions might seem trivial at first, but they compound over time, creating real change. So ultimately, the most important thing is to take consistent action. The more you act, the more you learn, and the more you grow. By breaking down your weaknesses into manageable steps and taking action every day, you will gradually transform them into strengths. Every small step you take is a victory, and with each victory, you build the confidence and resilience needed to keep moving forward. Consistency is often the unsung hero of personal growth. It's easy to start something new with enthusiasm, but the true challenge lies in maintaining the effort over time. When it comes to dominating your weak side, consistency is not just important, it's essential. The journey of self-improvement is a marathon, not a sprint. It requires dedication, focus, and the willingness to show up day after day, even when it feels difficult or the progress seems slow. Without consistency, no amount of recognition, mindset shifting, or action taking will lead to lasting change. It's through consistent effort that you build the momentum needed to overcome your weaknesses and transform them into strengths. The first key to consistency is making it a habit. Habits are the foundation of lasting change. When you incorporate positive actions into your daily routine, you no longer have to rely on motivation to get things done. Motivation comes and goes. And on the days when you feel low or discouraged, it's easy to skip your efforts. But when something becomes a habit, it becomes automatic. You no longer need to push yourself to do it. It becomes part of your lifestyle. Whether it's exercising, journaling, or practicing self-discipline, once these actions become habits, they are less likely to be disrupted by temporary feelings of doubt or fatigue. Another important aspect of consistency is showing up even when you don't feel like it. The truth is, not every day will feel like a success, and not every effort will yield immediate results. But what matters is that you continue to show up regardless of how you feel. It's easy to let your emotions dictate your actions, but if you only work on your weaknesses when you feel motivated, you'll rarely make progress. Growth doesn't happen in the moments of motivation alone. It happens when you push through on the days when it feels hard, when you don't feel like doing anything, but you do it anyway. By doing so, you reinforce the idea that your commitment to improvement is bigger than how you feel in the moment. Being consistent also means focusing on progress, not perfection. Too often, people get discouraged because they're not seeing the instant results they expected. They might take action for a few days or weeks, but when they don't immediately see a change, they give up. This is where the power of consistency lies. Small incremental improvements over time add up. It's easy to dismiss minor progress, but those small wins accumulate into significant changes. When you commit to showing up every day, even when the changes are not immediately visible, you are building the foundation for long-term success. Consistency also involves patience. It's easy to get frustrated when we don't see quick results, but remember, the journey of overcoming weaknesses is not a quick fix. It's a gradual process that requires patience and perseverance. Sometimes the results will not be immediate, and you may face setbacks along the way. It's easy to become disheartened, but those who succeed are the ones who stick with it. They trust the process and stay consistent, even when things aren't going perfectly. Over time, your consistent efforts will add up and you'll start to see real transformation. But that can only happen if you remain patient and keep moving forward, regardless of how slowly the progress seems. Another critical element of consistency is creating accountability. When you hold yourself accountable, you increase the likelihood that you'll stay consistent. This can be done by setting clear goals, tracking your progress, and sharing your journey with others. When you tell someone about your commitment, whether it's a friend, family member, or colleague, you make yourself accountable to them. Having that external source of accountability can provide the motivation you need to keep going, especially when your internal motivation wanes. Additionally, when you track your progress, you have a visual reminder of the progress you've made, which can help you stay focused on your goal. Consistency also means overcoming obstacles and challenges along the way. Life is unpredictable, and there will always be things that try to get in the way of your progress, unexpected setbacks, distractions, or changes in your circumstances. But the key to consistency is not allowing these obstacles to stop you. It's about finding a way to keep going, even when things are difficult. When you encounter challenges, take a step back, reassess, and find a way to work around them. And by doing this, you show yourself that no challenge is too big to derail your progress. The power of consistency is that it compounds over time. You may not see immediate results from your efforts, but each day of consistent action contributes to your long-term success. The more you commit to your growth, the more your weaknesses will diminish. Consistency is the bridge between where you are now and where you want to be. It's the one thing that guarantees progress, even when nothing else does. When you show up every day, no matter how small the action, you are making strides toward overcoming your weak side. And it is through this consistent, persistent effort that you will ultimately dominate your weaknesses and turn them into your greatest strengths. Celebrating your growth is often an overlooked but vital part of the journey toward dominating your weak side. It's easy to focus on the areas where you're still struggling or feel that there's always more to be done. While it's important to keep pushing yourself to improve, it's equally crucial to recognize and celebrate the progress you've made. This celebration is not just about rewarding yourself with external rewards, but about acknowledging the internal transformation that's taking place. When you take the time to celebrate your growth, no matter how small, you reinforce positive behaviors, boost your self-esteem, and gain the motivation to continue. Too often, people dismiss their progress because they are too focused on the destination. They set a goal, work hard to achieve it, but then immediately set another goal without taking the time to acknowledge how far they've come. This constant pursuit of the next thing without recognizing the steps already taken can lead to burnout, frustration, and a sense of never feeling good enough. However, celebrating your growth along the way allows you to appreciate how much you've accomplished, which fuels your motivation and strengthens your resolve to keep going. Celebrating your growth also helps to keep you grounded and mindful. It's easy to get caught up in a whirlwind of tasks and goals, and in the process, we forget to take a moment to reflect on how much we've already achieved. By celebrating your growth, you force yourself to pause, reflect, and truly appreciate the effort you've put in. This reflection helps you to connect the dots between your actions and your progress, creating a sense of fulfillment and accomplishment. Even small wins are worth celebrating because they are building blocks that contribute to your larger success. When you focus on these positive steps, you start to develop a more optimistic mindset and a sense of pride in your ability to overcome challenges. The act of celebration also builds momentum. When you celebrate your achievements, you affirm that your efforts are worthwhile and that you are capable of making progress. This positive reinforcement acts as a motivational tool that propels you forward. For instance, if you've been struggling with time management and you've consistently worked on improving it, take the time to celebrate the fact that you've been able to stick to a schedule for a week. Acknowledging that milestone strengthens your belief in your ability to succeed, making it easier to tackle the next hurdle. It gives you the confidence to take on even bigger challenges because you've proven to yourself that you can do it. Moreover, celebrating your growth encourages a sense of gratitude. It's easy to focus on what you still haven't achieved, but celebrating your growth shifts your focus to what you have accomplished. This shift in perspective helps you appreciate the progress you've made and the lessons you've learned along the way. Instead of beating yourself up for not being perfect or not having arrived at your final goal, you learn to appreciate the process. By focusing on the journey rather than just the destination, you cultivate a more fulfilling and positive experience of self-improvement. Celebrating growth also serves as a powerful reminder that you are not defined by your weaknesses. Every time you celebrate a win, whether it's a small shift in behavior or an improvement in your mindset, you are reinforcing the fact that weaknesses are not permanent. They are simply areas for growth, and each victory, no matter how small, demonstrates that you have the ability to change. Celebrating your growth reminds you that progress is a continuous journey and that each step forward brings you closer to the person you want to become. Additionally, taking the time to celebrate can help to prevent the feelings of frustration that often arise when progress is slow. It's common to feel discouraged when you don't see instant results. So you might feel like your efforts aren't paying off or that you're not improving as quickly as you'd like. But when you take a moment to celebrate even the smallest achievements, you shift your focus from what's not working to what is. These celebrations create positive reinforcement, which helps counterbalance the inevitable setbacks that occur along the way. Furthermore, sharing your growth with others can amplify the celebration. When you share your accomplishments with a supportive friend, mentor, or community, you invite others into your journey. This shared joy reinforces your sense of achievement and creates a sense of connection. Others can remind you of your progress when you lose sight of it, which provides a healthy reminder to celebrate your growth. In this way, celebrating becomes a communal experience that strengthens bonds and creates encouragement from others. Ultimately, celebrating your growth is an essential part of the process of dominating your weak side. It allows you to recognize that progress is happening, even if it's not always as fast or as visible as you'd like. Every small victory, every shift in mindset, and every step toward improvement deserves to be celebrated. By doing so, you foster an environment of positive reinforcement, motivation, and gratitude. And this continuous celebration of growth creates the foundation for lasting change, making it easier to continue striving for greater success. As you continue your journey to dominate your weak side, remember that this process is not about perfection, but about progress. It's about recognizing where you are, shifting your mindset, taking consistent action, and celebrating the small wins along the way. The road to self-improvement can sometimes feel long and challenging, but it's the consistent effort that pays off. Each day, each action, no matter how small, brings you closer to transforming your weaknesses into strengths. The most important part of this journey is your commitment to keep moving forward, even when faced with setbacks. Growth is not linear, and there will be times when you feel discouraged. However, it's in these moments that your consistency and ability to celebrate even the smallest steps forward become crucial. Your weaknesses are simply areas for growth, and with each effort, you are chipping away at them, bit by bit. In embracing this process of constant self-improvement, you'll begin to see that dominating your weak side is not a destination, but a continuous journey. You will find that with time, you not only conquer your weaknesses, but also uncover strengths you never knew existed within you. The power to transform your life lies in your hands, and with every step you take, you are becoming the person you were always meant to be. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content that inspires growth and transformation. Your support means the world.